Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and highest levels of love light. Welcome to my portal. I'm actually in my car, but I have this really fun background that I thought I'd put in here instead of the back of my car. So I wanted to go in a little flow. I did a video this morning while I was driving, and there were so many different things that came through. I kind of wanted to go into a little bit more in depth and ask the guides about it because some of the things that and I think it's probably going to be a several part series. So I'll invite you guys to go back. I think I'll try to post the videos in order so it's a little bit easier to follow. Essentially, there's a lot going on with a lot of us, and we're really being called to be as patient with each other as possible, patient with ourselves. And I've been talking about this a lot in previous videos, but let me just tune in and see what the guides have to share about the energies that we're experiencing right now. And so there is a sector, if you will, of a region or a place or a space or a region in space that we are accessing currently. And this has been going on for quite some time, yet time is of the essence. And this is a play on words for when we bring it into the forefront, when we begin to recognize that time is of the essence, there is a fine line between no time and being in a place of infinite space and time nipping at our heels, one might say. And so we are now in this great space that is called Earth, or Earth is in a great space. And we are being asked to give her a wide berth and give each other a wide berth, welcoming that which is forming, that which is being birthed, that which is transforming from the old and from the new. And we look at this as the springtime, if you will, that allows us to spring into new growth, that allows us to spring into the birthing, of the next energetic stage. Yet what we are witnessing on stage and the sectors that we are witnessing being exposed, expelled, collapsed, and brought to the surface can sometimes bring us out of the feeling of the birthing process and put us back into gestation. And let us play with this for a moment, for we are using these words as a sort of alchemization from one way of communication into another, and also a way to play with multiple realities, dimensions, and subsets all at the same time. Because some of us are in a different time frame, time zone, or both, a different timeline than others. Some of us are witnessing the atrocities, if you wish to call them that, being played out in front of us, and are asking ourselves when, why, when is this going to end? And we would venture to say that that will be a difficult journey for many. For many are not able or feel unable or do not see the ability or do not feel the availability to access the fuller potential or the higher time that is available for us in coming days. We play with this in a myriad of ways for time, dates, calendar, calendrical, cylindrical, springtime, spring in the step, moving forward. All of this is a equinoxial, existential, cerebral focus. And we are playing with this as well. Let us go back to what we were describing for those who are unable to move past what they are witnessing. This is a cerebral, a more analytical place, a more boxed in interface, if you will, with reality. There are less curves. There are less smooth corners, more rough edges. There is an inability to actually meet the curveball, if you will. And we feel sometimes as if we are caught off guard on a regular basis. And many of us oscillate between that and the next stage, or the spring in our step that others are feeling. That is a sense of rebirth, a sense of moving out of one reality into another, a sense of finding our new dock, if you will, finding our new space in which to dock into, finding a new realm in which we feel a bit, I'm hearing a sigh of relief. Feeling as if I can take a breath despite all that is going on around me or that I'm witnessing. Some people are being thrown into the ring right now and are coming up to, coming into their own. They're coming up to battle, if you will, with aspects of themselves that they have never known to be there before, or have avoided and always known that were there, but now they are finding or struggling to stay, I'm hearing not to run aground, to stay above ground, to stay, like I'm just seeing a lot of people that are just in it. And I talked about this in my previous video. And we are oscillating back and forth, let's call it 3D to 4D that we just described. And some are passing this all up and are in a state of expansion, expression, creativity, flow, and abundance, health, and well-being. And there are those that are back in the middle who have some of that and some of this. And there are some of those who are somehow in a state of fifth dimensional awareness, we should say, yet going through hardships, yet handling it with grace and ease. So we are offering this public display, if you will, of many different versions of how we are seeing the reality in which we are publicly and privately interfacing with. And some of the things that we are seeing are over publicized. And I'm hearing this is like a big play on words, and I just have to drop in and really play with these words to make them kind of come through appropriately, because it's a pretty quick flow. So I'm trying to make it a little bit more linear so that those who are unable to follow that flow can still glean something from it. So maybe I'll go into flow in just a minute, or a faster flow. And I'm being called to use that as an example. So there's the fast flow, there's the slow flow. Some of us are in no flow, but be aware that we are always moving, and there is growth that is occurring, even if it feels as if we have been boxed in, if it feels as if we've been pushed up against the ring, if it feels as if we've been backed into a corner. We are being called to recognize that the corners of this ring, if we call it that, are self-made. And some will disagree. And for those who do not agree with this, we invite you to see another version of reality, to play for a moment and step outside of the ring looking for a fight. Stepping outside of the ring and looking at the stage, at the ring, from a different perspective, a view that allows you to see both players in the ring at the same time, a view that allows you to see the audience that is cheering on the so-called battle going on within the box. We invite you to see the judges. We invite you to see the audience. And then we invite you to expand out even farther than that. So we are inviting you to see you fighting against perhaps another version of you, or what you might see as an adversary, and zoom out of the entire room. Can you expand out and see the building that this particular fight is being housed within? Can you zoom out and see the street corner or the block that it is addressed at? Can you zoom out and view as if you were looking from a bird's eye view at the property that the building is housed in? Can you see the buildings around this property that you are inside of in your imagination, in the ring with the audience and the judges? Can you zoom out and see the town or the city in which this supposed boxing match would be held within? What does it look like? Can you zoom out and see the foliage and the trees and the landscape of this particular place and city in which this boxing ring is housed within, that everybody is inside of? Can you see the other people in the other buildings? Imagine them. Imagine the cars, imagine the animals, and zoom out even more and imagine the lakes or the rivers or the oceans that this city is composed of, and so on and so forth, to get a broader perspective of you. For while it seems as if you are only able to see the ring, we invite you to see the ring side. We invite you to see beyond that side in all angles, and we invite you to see beyond sides. We invite you to expand out and see all that you have the ability to see that you all have the ability to see. So that's a play on words. Invite you to see more. For as you expand and broaden your perspective, you are able to see the angle at which the adversary is about to land a punch. You are able to see what is going on simultaneously outside of this match, if you will. You are then able to raise your awareness, which heightens your awareness, which heightens your sense of self, which heightens your sensitivity to the upcoming moves of your opponent. And it also invites the senses to expand beyond a battle, to see that there is much more going on around, and there is much more at play than just this one day, than just this one match, this one building nestled amongst infinite numbers of buildings, for that is the landscape that we wish to paint a picture of right now. So you can use your skill set to outmaneuver that ring that you are playing within, to outmaneuver yourself, one might say, and to get out of the logical, analytical way of negotiating with the construction of your life, meaning negotiating with things that seem outside of your control, and looking back and changing your perspective, then zooming back into that center and finding your footing. I'm hearing float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. This has come up in other channeling, so I'll have to play with that. Now I'm hearing, what's that song by Neil Diamond? Ali, holy love. So there's something to that about diamond, letting the diamond energies come in. That's a whole other video. But also float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So I'm just seeing so many different ways of looking at this here. This changes the way in which you interact now once you step back into that ring. Not only are you able to see with more clarity who it is that you are coming up against, you are also able to see how it feels to be inside of the ring and how it feels to be outside of the ring. It also gives you the opportunity to step entirely outside of that entire picture into a new awareness or view that allows you to expand and see much more, and the bigger, I'm just seeing in the long run. And so we use this as an analogy. For many people are feeling as if they are coming up against the ropes and they are fighting or stuck in the ropes and they can't get out. So in those moments, stop and take a moment to broaden and use your imagination potentially to see outside of the box. And in moments, being in the moment, now stepping back into the ring and seeing with clarity, potentially, that the choice is to take off the gloves and to step outside of the ring and allow all to move into a different pattern. The fight, if you will, does not necessarily have to be completed, or potentially it can be neutralized. And this is you guys, this is an analogy about life. It isn't an analogy about a real, if you're a boxer, clearly you have to finish the match because that's what you signed up for. In some cases, what I'm just being shown is some people feel like they have to finish this out, see it through. But the question becomes, what exactly is it they have to finish and see through? Now, if you're using this analogy for more of like, I've been working towards this job, right? I need to get this position and I'm battling to get this position. You can use that analogy to say, well, what is it that I'm missing from the bigger picture about who it is that I'm coming up against? And how can I use that to better assist me in recognizing the moves of the game? And the other message that's been coming through is the game. What game is it? What are the rules? Are there any rules? Ooh, the rules have shifted. All right, so I said that in another video. All right, so I'm just gonna pause and see if I can, now I've said that. I just went into another spin. Whew. I'm just seeing a reference to being witness, being a compassionate witness to yourself and what you're experiencing, being a compassionate witness to what everybody else is watching. Some people are in the ring, some people are watching, some people don't even know that there's a match going on. They're living their lives and they're doing their thing. What role do we want to play? Where do we want to be? Do we even want to be in that building? Do we want to be a spectator? Right? And it's also an analogy of us kind of fighting against ourselves. Oftentimes we feel like, and I'm guilty of this too. I think I did a session I've been telling you guys about brain spotting with my dear sister and friend Jess. And I was like, where am I blocked? What is this block? And the guides, my higher self, me, was like, what block? The block is you think you're blocked, but in reality, you're channeling. You're conversing with loved ones. You're having massive ahas. You're paying attention to synchronicities. You're helping people. What exactly do you feel you need more of? Because we all go through this, right? We go through these stages where we're like, more, more, more. What am I missing? I always ask, what am I missing? How about what are you receiving? What are you giving? Let's start there. And I always tell other people that, but right? How often do we actually follow our own in medicine? I try to. That doesn't mean I always do. Okay. So let us go back to the mission at hand and the message at hand and what it is that we are sharing as helping hands, if you will. Let us go back into a state of union and recognize that there is no turning our back on the 3D, the 4D, the 5D, getting out of the mental region, getting out of the mentality of bad or good, and recognize that we are all experiencing the best we know how to experience. Each of us has had life experiences that have led us to this point in time. And I'm hearing, what's that John Denver song? Again, it's another Diamond reference. Some days, what is this? The cheesy song day? Sorry, John Denver. Sorry, Neil Diamond. Some days are diamonds, some days stone. Is that how it goes? I know I'm way off in my, but yeah, so basically some days are diamonds, some days are not diamonds. Some days are rough. It's actually a good song. So we're all human, and we are all experiencing different chapters of our lives that are put in there to build the character, to build character. And the character flaws are what sometimes make the heroine, the main person of the book, the hero, so much more lovable, much more, we appreciate that more because that character in the book has so much depth or has made it so far. In these books and stories that were written about us, basically, there is no perfect point A to point B. And that is what we are all experiencing. So we are being invited to rewrite the story we tell ourselves. Then we look at what's being shown in front of us, this beautiful play. And as we look at this, we play with our reality in a different way. We are able to see more than just what's in front of us. Although at certain times, it is important for us to recognize it is time to focus on what's just in front of us. But we can do that at the same time as broadening our perspective about what is in front of us, if that makes sense. So when we can feel into the multiple dimensions or the multiple layers of our structure of reality, we are then able to access more in order to assist us in handling what's right in front of us. It allows us to access our future in an easier way and what's in store for us. We are able to access what's in our storage bank so we can use them at that moment. I'm being shown somebody in the ring, and all of a sudden they reach in their pocket and they've got a get out of jail free card. I've been holding on to this one. Here you go. And the other person might go, you know what? I really didn't feel like this fight either. We're done. We're going to call it a draw. So that has to do with partly expecting, like, I hear a lot of times, like, oh, this person isn't gonna, I do it too. Oh, they're gonna be so upset. And then you give them the news and they're like, eh. You're like, wow, I really thought that was gonna be worse than it was. Sometimes we create that story and we actually make it harder on ourselves than it needs to be. And I'm just seeing a reference on how a lot of us are doing that unconsciously because it's a program and it's a habit. What I had seen earlier was a reference to many of these programs that have been running over and over again, referencing back my previous video. I wasn't in flow, it's just an observation, is that, well, I was in a little bit of flow, but the observation is we are sometimes so used to being so hard on ourselves that we make it harder on ourselves because it's easier to do that because it's a pattern and a program that we feel familiar with. The guides called it comfort food. So even though it's uncomfortable, it's easier, which is more comfortable, to stay in that than to actually soften. Because if we soften, all of a sudden these emotions come up and we don't know what to do with them because we're not used to dealing with them. Or the opposite is happening, where we're always in that state and we're always in fight or flight and we're always emotional, and then we are being given an opportunity sometimes to strengthen and not fall apart. So let me rephrase that. Just because we are feeling something and we get emotional and we soften doesn't mean we're falling apart. It means the old program is falling apart, and that can make us feel out of control. It can make us feel even more uncomfortable, and I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing. It's like that we're in between these realities and these dimensions, and we're used to playing in maybe the old paradigm. And here we are already in the new reality that's molding to our needs. And we haven't processed a lot of stuff that we need to still process. So because of that, we're being given opportunities to get emotional. We're being given opportunities to soften, which are not always fun. And they're not always pleasant. And so that's kind of the message. I'm just going to end on that note. We are in a portal. We're always in a portal, though. We're walking portals. We can access any portal at any point in time. That's a whole other video, but I'm just going to invite everybody to though feel the energies right now, because I do feel there are auspicious times when it's stronger. Whether it's because we all believe it is irrelevant. It's stronger maybe because we do all believe that it's stronger. From a perspective of belief, we have alignments. The sun is shooting plasma at us. The earth is burping up energy coming up from the bowels of the earth that hold nutrients and frequency that was not available before. We are doing the same thing. We've got shifts going on in our body, kundalini. It's all happening now, right? Everything here now all at once. So that gives us the opportunity, if we can just slow down and be present with all of that, we're able to then handle all of that just that much more gracefully and with that much more ease, depending on the day and the moment, depending on how we can react and how often we can recharge and all of that. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but there was a butterfly going by. Butterfly, a couple butterflies. So symbolic. I had a moth land on me in my car this morning. Now there's butterflies all around me. So transformation, right? That's where we're at. But we still feel like we're in the cocoon. Sometimes it feels better to be there sometimes, even though it's awkward. All right. In love and light, guys. Namaste.